I'm extending Tashitila greetings to everyone. So please follow me in changing the text.
Guru Bema Bao Gan Sodan Jeba Damje Kukarda Sonda Ngaje Loya Duje Gomba Rebara Jarje Ngo Tala Dede Jadrilje Jadanje Sujembe Dinje Namgara Jembara Inju Jelama Ganduzo Nanje Medala Do Jeje Dudada Gam Zumzem Jena Semnoma Denge Ngando Na Tezene Bena Waraja Mandodo Juro Bezem Jela Purare Do Bena Jorane Shinga Jene Zode Bejer Palama Jeje Jone Lunga Ye Danyo Mene Bar Dende Zango Bede Laba Lejawa De Jiran Lanju Nere Nyam Gejen Dero Taranjen De Nyendo Bae Jelamanga De Zo Namje Medage Gozom Jenjelo Medage Gozom Jenjelo Medage Gozom Jenjelo Ola So Tenen Lhundrup Saya De Indu Tsangmanyam Do Lhundrup Salo Nang
About exhaling the stale breath. So please follow me in doing this practice.
La So Tande Jela Soldem Da Chinlap Shue De Indu Peja Soya Soya Nyam Do Myoba Salda Bronang
So next is about supplicating and asking for blessing. So while we chanting, please visualize in this way.
Balde Zawe Lama Rimbo Dagi Juro Beme De La Jo Kade Jebe Gone Jesu Kozon Do Je Ngöndro Zal Do Zu Desum Sanje Dam Jeje Ngo Lama Rinpo Jeje Dagi Ju Minje Chulwara Jeje Lamdo Sablam Je Doba Je Bara Je Jula Je Wara Jeje Lamdo Sedeni La Wazara Zoba Jembe Lamjo Dar Jeje Lamdo Desum Sanje Dam Jeje Ngo Lama Rinpo Jeje Dagi Ju Minje Chulwara Jeje Lamdo Sablam Je Doba Je Bara Je Jula Je Wara Jeje Lamdo Sedeni La Wazara Zoba Lamjo Darje Bara Jeje Lamdo Desum Sanje Dam Jeje Ngo Lama Rinpo Jeje Dagi Ju Minje Chulwara Jeje Lamdo Sablam Je Doba Je Bara Je Jula Je Wara Jeje Lamdo Sedeni La Wazara Zoba Jembe Lamjo Darje Jeje Lamdo Zolwa Demso Lama Rinpo Dongwe Bedo Denje Jeje Kalme Dala Reza Je Tuye Yerme Je Bara Jeje Lo Yama Dage Jeje Gane Jan Daljuro Dene Jendo Je Bara Tune Jezo Nyezo Jela Nye Kewa Jube Longa Maju Renje Lengne Donlo Wo Nyendo Kade Jeje Pemba Madu Jine Minue Nye Bangala Njuru Tanda Tebe Kurwa Rabjeve Ledre Milo Tembe Ngöndro Ndu Ola So Ngarang zo sem dan tembe kansa tamje deba dewa dugu yoba dungal mendo ba shada re de yore dewe ju yang da ba de sem ju ya dan dungal ji ju de sem ma ju ne ranga ma ta sha ba de sha gu ba re da sem ju go gu yoba ina ni ju ye tamlam de meng la tambe chu se gu ba re chu nyam zo lang go gu yo na ngondo Ngöshi Nyamlen Dene Mangbu Yobale Tanang Amso Ngöndro Chudene Nyamlen and Cheshime Kabibare.
So, as all sentient beings, we all want happiness and do not want suffering. The cause of the happiness is taming our mind. And then the cause of the suffering is not taming our mind. And for taming the mind, the best method is practicing the sublime Dharma. And for sublime Dharma, then there are the Dharma of the preliminary as well as the Dharma of the main body. And right now we are doing the Dharma of the preliminary.
Ngöndro Tela Tumongchi Ngöndro Tumen Nanyi Ngöndro Yobale Tanda Ngazo Tumongchi Ngöndro Des Kola Sambutang Shimbayin Ta Tumongchi Ngöndro Tela Jedang Komlo Samlatang Lo Mangbo Yore De Nesu Lang Due Na Lodo Namba Shina Lang Due Gu Yuzang Ina Lodo Namba Shina Ne Kashi Ngazo Komsar Che Ta Tanda Ngazo Le Yunre Kola Samlatang Yin
So then, as for the preliminary dharma, there are preliminary dharmas of the common preliminary dharma as well as uncommon preliminary dharmas. And within the common preliminary dharmas, and we are going through the practice of the four mind changings. And within this, the four mind changing practice, we have already covered certain practices. And now, today, we are doing the practice of the karmic cause and effect.
Tangoma Ngazo Show me the Bola Samadaware. And in that she is a Vijela, and Louis Dunzo, and the Pember Rajin Zan, and Ma Duljanapa, Tengdogure. Read and the same day, the call Duljan Tengdreda, then it came about a queer Rigdam Jundi, Kaduna, Yukarwa. The Rigda de Kawala Dogre City, and called Lela Legure. Le City Chaware, Sosoji, Nazo, Samja Samla, Lungaji, Lega Leda, Tinzun Neva Shuchajun Latene, Nita. Korwa dang yang song long do dang tarba dang tamji jime gobang kawa to bu de la ra le yure kola tene kewile megewile longma danji le sum yure longma danji le de sen de ni jawa de to be ji ju sam ji gre ma do jawa che ma la me se to na jen ge yu ma re ja sang da na ga so ke me ge le ni ju la on zo ge ji shi go yure.
Okay, then in the earlier session, we have talked about the preliminary practice of the death and the impermanence. And then as for the death, and within this context, when the body is perished, and then it turns into atoms or the particles, small particles, and then it's kind of done in that way. But as for the mind, then mind continues, it doesn't kind of perish in the way the body does, right? So mind continues, and this continuation then depends on its karmic cause and effect, especially the cause or the actions. And because of this action, then we go to different realms, such as the lower or the inferior realms, as well as the super or higher realms, right? And at the same time, based on these karmic action, we talk about virtuous deeds and the non-virtuous deeds, as well as the neutral or the kind of indifferent the deeds. And among those, we will focus on the virtuous deeds as well as non-virtuous deeds.
Adinane Tanangazo Walla and Pangja Megeville Jukola Kajisha Pogure. Napanga Megeville Shipjin Tower, Hubain and the Nazo Mambashara Rede Sula Dorduna and Megewa Chu Segure Luigi Nambasum Naji Eji Sum Jebane Megawa number 2 Tama then and Dune that's some Ladango.
So then, as for the non-virtuous deeds, which is to be abandoned, and in the detailed explanation of non-virtuous deeds is vast and profound. But if we summarize it, can be condensed into 10 non-virtuous deeds. These 10 non-virtuous deeds are classified into 3 categories: the 3 bodily non-virtuous deeds, 4 the non-virtuous deeds related to our speech, and the 3 non-virtuous deeds related to our mind.
That is Luigi Bone Nambasumle Dambo, no Sochaba Segura. No Sochaba de Rani Mai be Shen Senjen and Kansa Soya Roma Dejilane Manorwa. Desen Chikogure. In a colon de Kansa did and D and Segin Yamaji sent to law. She de Kansa Shenji Manorwa Dada Kogure. Sangpa di sendo gogo yore, jorwa de da, tero se je tabshe, da go, dongde la soba jeba inare, chunjan nunba inare, tablam shenda shendenba inare, men la soba pecho damda da inare, kanda tablam kangi gone, shen sebolan jorwa sangpa dino sangman jorwa se yore. Tardu, soso mashi wi ngon la, kansa paru bu di song gaba ina, ani, kar sore. That social body lady motion Tsondru yore.
Okay, then as for the three bodily non-virtuous deeds, the first one is killing. And for killing, it's the killing of another sentient beings. It's one different from your own, the killer, him or herself, right? And then the motivations for this action has to be actually, killing the person, really, kind of seizing the life of the other being. And then as for the means of, seizing the other life, then would be various, sometimes through, using weapons, and they giving, poisons or any other means to kill. As long as it is done in this way, the action, the killing of the action is undertaken in this way, it is called killing. And also, the person, who that one is going to kill, it has to be killed before the killer himself's life is perished. So if it's, if the action, kind of takes place in this way, then it's called killing, and the one is committing the misdeeds of the killing.
The nature of the Ningazo so chedan de Remino Mambore. Ningazo Doja Jungone Sochaba, Bena, Yenji, the Baba Langawada, Shalangawada, Talangawada, any the Rajola Gawada, the Simjida Menaji, the Ngamalangawala Sobada, any Zedam and the Suecedona, the Nage of any Sochaba de la, any Karishan Dore, any Doja Jungone Sochaba, Segure. Tiro soso jani chedo chemino. Kansa dirang, semjen dirang, and didang di chedo, no sozang gawi, yul de longzu chobar chawi chedo, no so chedo chemino, ne tago yore. Soso socho na, choba yina tene, ngarchela nyoba chenje tamzen go yore. Chayamana mutu na tene jani, socho ke me nyamaji, ne yila samgo doa, tene kyos, no komashero na.
Okay, then as for the way of killing another sentient being, it kind of varies, or there are many different ways, and one of those many ways is called the killing out of attachment. So this is mainly an action, the killing, the act of killing taking place with the desire to gain something from that action. For instance, as killing an animal, then we want their skin, we want their specific, meat, or their blood, or their horn, because horn, horns of those specific animals are very precious, and we can gain a lot of money, selling those horns, or so forth. As long as you undertake for the sake of gaining something with the certain, the desires or certain ambitions, then it is called the killing out of desires. And and now we have to check for ourselves if we have done such killing in our life. If we have done it, then we have to, try to kind of, in a way, confess. But if we haven't done such, action, then it's good, and we have to think about how to continue being well behaved, so forth. So now please take a moment and contemplate on these points.
다나진도 샤단지고는 소저바 용유래 데이터스 바로바 강사 미암 네 든들라서 바수이나양라 라니 민가와다 홍도라와다 데라니 뇌섬진고네 네 소저바 되는 여러와 덴저지 소저바라니 양체도 재미도 제바요나 흔들라 녀바진고유래 제메바이는 뭐되네 제주요 말에 대현이 소세근데 라니지 소단 제바래 소소소 개좀바 가서 임바 지난주甚至신기 소야 개좀부 진네 아니 공도라서 배도는 소주가 몇 년비로지 네 연락양 삼나단 거 그래 지네 주스 뭐시로나.
So then the second killing is called killing out of aversions. So this is generally killing those beings who we do not like. We have dislike towards those beings, or we have, we hold grudge towards those beings. So if we kill those beings, then it becomes the killing out of the aversions. So now we have to check whether we have done such an action or no. If we have done such an action, then we have to, think of ways, think the means to correct our behaviors. And if we haven't done such action, then we have to also think means to maintain our good behaviors. And generally, our lives very precious, and then at the same time we have to know that the lives of other beings are very precious for them, same as our own life. So now please take a moment and contemplate on these points.
다나진도 때모지고네 소체바데네 용유래 네 메카제 현재 소라 남매나 재미도네 다 재무제체도 아니 돈도나 메다 섬진담네 네 세근데네 용유래 된소제당 Kashi Simjin se Ladang Lodang Dedang Denzola Choba Boy Tarba Topura second Oda Kewa Younger second in a young year. The Denzo Samayang, Timoji Bonen, Soja Chandu, Shenji So, Soji Ombo Danga, Chesona, the Megava Mado, Kewa Young second day, Kalakborowa. Watene jingone soso yone shenjo soche do chemendo ne daere chu yona ne pango yore chu mena mutene mache ba nin gyonjang go yore wade no soso le yang de samlo je tarona.
Okay, the third killing is called killing out of ignorance. Then this is basically killing without knowing the importance or the values of others' life or even the existence of others' life, right? So if we kill other beings such as animals and the humans without knowing they even exist as ourselves, then this is called the killing out of ignorance. And at the same time, some people kill lives for for the sake of worshiping gods or the nagas and so forth, other spiritual beings. They kill in order to worship them. These kind of killings are also considered the killing out of ignorance, because they say the not knowing the truth kind of contains in these actions. Therefore, it's called killing out of the ignorance. So now we have to check whether we have done such an action or no. If we have done, then we should be regretting and at the same time think of means to correct our behaviors. And at this, on the other hand, if we haven't done this action, then we have to also think of ways to maintain or kind of uphold our good behaviors. So now please think about these points for a while.
Soja ba denzo nang ne megewa nyoba cheshu de se de pa seba da ma seba an da na jin do da jin ba seba 장주 선바 서바 네 근데 라도 좀 올라서 봐 아니 제 주바보 어ten데 서바는 다 된저 녀바 하장 지우래 송우래.
Among all this killing, the worst killing, most evil or the sinful ones are killing of one's own parents, our father or mothers, and at the same time killing arhats, killing bodhisattva, or killing monks and nuns who are engaging on the virtuous deeds or practicing dharma. Sublime dharmas. If we kill those, then these are the worst, the killings.
아니 콜롱데다 대신에 마제발라 나와 마제발라 줄라 랑도지 로지고 그래 저러와데드네 라니지 멤버 쌈마라와 아니 탑제 남나 용거래 랑다 나 타르도데 소소로 톱네 톱로 제와지 말라라송아 냐마지 중원이나 되네 마지막에 마사나 민도 꼬마예 아니 메게 원고 좀 그래
Okay, then next is called the non-virtuous deeds is the taking without being given, right? For these actions, then it has to be the object we are taking has to be an object that belongs to someone else, not ours, but someone else. And then motivation is that even it is not given, I'm going to take that things from those other peoples, that kind of motivation. And then the method is any other method through which you gain or obtain the things that you want from others without being given. And then at the end, the completion of the action has to be, it has to be at the point where you think, now this is my things. When it comes to that point, then it is called the action of taking without giving. So then in a way, this whole in this process, all this sequence has to be kind of complete. In that, once it's complete, then it's called taking without giving. Yeah.
메게와디 는 가르서 그래 콜라 양나가 가져요래 왕지군네 마지막랑바 용그래 나왕 도당지군네 다 도당 흉게 탈당 고란 로다지 용그래 단데라 고마스 말와 대 마이 받는 왕 베저당네 아니 진유 준노 롱조데 도니 랑바당 초바당 어디네 제바이나 대야네 가르서 그래 마지막 랑베지 제지 창조고 유도 라니기 되네 왕제 베저당네 현대데 켄용고보 줄랑랑도 랑메도네 다제당 거래 다랑유나 되네다 만지 바로와 아니 랑메바이나 아니 소소제 레가 냠바데 강라 만조 바이 바래 다디 텐지 나신 제나네 삼로도스나 아니 마마 제바이나다 딜 제만은 되네 제게 메아 냠바지나 노르도 삼바지 고고 유래 어딘데라는 쪽 삼로다노나
Okay, then as for this action, there are also a few different types. And the first one is, taking, due to one's own power, right? Using one's own power, right? Taking others' wealth, using one's own powers. Generally, taking according to law or according as a tax, then it's not included in this action. But other than that, if you take others' wealth, others' belonging, because you have lots of power, then it is this the misdeeds or the virtuous deeds here, right? And so then we have to think about whether we have done such an action or no. If we haven't done it, then it's good. If we have done it, then we should be regretting, and we have to think of ways to, in the future, not to commit such an action, how to correct our bad behavior, so forth. So please take a moment and contemplate on these.
so daga na chindo kuma kuna tabje shimba chi jam ne ku jabru ne ku asagire mi shin su ja mazoro che ne yimne ani kaso kogo su su chin kuma ko ndo ne yung yere ta jene yong ra ye kuma de mang jo de ne ro jiro ha ma ko ne yimne ndo ge ne zo o tende je rani yang in shen yin mo bo ane shin de ma de ba ma jin ba la ane su su lang do la me do ane tende che ba ina den kuma jiro de su su ma che ba ina no wa re ma che ba ina ya bo re ane de le shen je ane ka so de ne kuma ji chun ko ge me a nya ba ja ne su su sam lo ja da ro na.
Okay. Next, taking without giving or stealing is stealing kind of stealthily or not letting others know, right? So, or taking very quietly, taking others' belonging very quietly or secretly. So this is one very common means of stealing or taking without giving, right? And many people are still in this way, right? So now we have to check whether we have done such an action or no. If we haven't done, then it's good. If we have done, then we have to again think about ways to correct our behaviors, and we have to at the same time commit ourselves not doing such an action in the future anymore. So please contemplate on these points.
So ane daga na shindo yoju ko ne ma jen ba lang ba se gan che yore yoju de da shen ng or dang ne ke jen ni bo che ko do da tab che da mi da dang ko do da den jen na shen ne da thog ne ja ba che ba ko ma de ya ma re yin ko ko sim sim yim ne ne ku ba den de ya ma re da de ne ngor da ne ni shen ni mo bo den zo 마진바 라네 라니게 나야 되는 용구여래 어디디 네 마진랑 바냐 탑놈 쳐차고여래 된데 라니게 제도다 민도 소소 삼는도 스타 제외나다 데모네 노르와다 는 쪽바래 되여래 그래서 강자 미 균노론저 사에 제도 아니 가서 그래 탁지르 몰나지르 닌 되는 갈래 뭐보자 가셔 살아야 많이 뭐고 갈래는 서기여래 대에는 신용어보다는 가서 신용 되바매 신도라니제니 다 고마고 고단 답진다면 돈에 가리 돈에 나와 있나요. 근데 내가 좀 봐라와. 되네는 라니제 지금 매아 되네 선로전당 고유래.
Next is stealing out of deceptions in a way. Cheating other people or, saying some nice things and then, take others, belongings or the possessions. And this is different from taking, out of power or, taking stealthily, right? In this action is mainly you take by deceiving the others through various means, either saying something nice or any other means. So so now we have to check whether we have done such an action or no, right? If we haven't done, it's good. If we done, then we have to correct ourselves. Generally the wealth of the others, and they have been accumulating their wealth through a lot of difficulties, sweating and shedding blood, and not sleeping at night, so various means are kind of applied for accumulating the wealth. So if we then steal from others, it is not good. Therefore, so we have to think or check, for ourselves if we have done such things or no. So now please take a moment and contemplate on these points.
So, that in there, and Komako and on the Yabacheshu de Kosong to then down, Conjosum, your court and the Koina, Yabashumore, de Nanaja, Kendun, your court, Koa Chebaina, Yabani, Subsession in Sumure, Tenzo, and to the number on the Sabore.
Okay, then among the stealings, the worst stealings or the most evil stealing is stealings of the embodied speech and the mind of Buddhists and Bodhisattvas, or their belongings, or their properties, as well as the property or the belongings of the monks and the nuns, the Dharma practitioners, or who are practicing Dharma, on the path of practicing Dharma. If we steal from them, then it is considered the worst stealing.
Samba de so Nakason Deba Doja Shada Timanga Yasum Nan, Doja Shada Timosum Nane, Doja Jokolonzo Gugure. Jorwa de Henji Taudo Sungwa, Am Cheji Sungwa, Atenela Sobakaya Robajilani, Rangi Jeni, Kazora Deba Jabada, Notardo, Kazora Simba Toba Chuaina, Tene Debe Lobar Jimbe, Devo de Sangure.
Okay, then next, the non-virtuous deeds is sexual misconduct. Then this sexual misconduct, for this action, then we have to have another persons upon whom we commit this the misdeeds, the virtuous deeds. And as a motivation, the mind for such an action has to be mind of desires, or attachment. Better attachment is better, I guess. Yeah. So out of hatred, attachment, ignorance, we have to have the mind of the attachment, right? As long as there's attachment, then it's kind of part of these actions. And then at the same time, that the other person has to be belonging to someone else already, or belonging to a specific tradition already. If that is the case, but then we are still kind of taking the person, regardless of his or her belongings, then we are committing this action of the sexual misconduct. Then as for the completion of the action, then it has to be the action is completely done. The sexual misconduct is committed on the person. So if this whole process is completed, then it is called the action of the sexual misconduct, or the non-virtuous deeds of the sexual misconduct.
De la Chuji Songwa second Nikanza Shen Po Mo La Zoba Rabdu Chungwa Yimba. Tende Jikogu, Tende Am Yana Rabdu Majungwa Yinaya, Tende Sojong La Tebanda. Sesang to Sang Tende La Zoba, Ni Mege Pang, Keo Dubu La Zoba, Tende Jikogu, Dida Olani, Rani Dube Low, Deba Cheba La Zoba Cheba Yina. Develop in Bachagu, running in Dindo, make a chedo, chemido, Kanandez in the summer now. Nargel and Yabana, change a Tamzim, Namanashin, and it was summer
now. Okay, then regarding the person belonging to the Dharma or tradition means, basically the person is, at the, practitioner, Dharma practitioner, or someone who has done retreat, the summer retreat, or someone who is, doing, his own the spiritual practice, right? As long as, that is the case, then we are, kind of committing these actions, or taking a person from his or her own traditions, belonging to a specific tradition, but we're still taking him, out, or using him for our pleasure, right? So then, now we have to check for ourselves whether we have done such an action or no. If we have done, then we have to look inward and, think of a means to, correct or, correct our bad behaviors, so forth. And if we haven't done, then we have to, rejoice and continue our good behaviors. Please now take a moment and, contemplate on these points. So, Dagana Chendo, Regi Songwa, second Geneva,
그러지 송화 세드네 창사 잡 심비 강사 현재 교감 예매인 바 양나드네 롱창 땅선 바 양나니 가로 이게 강사 현재 송사로와 와 덴델라는 되버져버이나 양로 임창로 유래 와 덴데네 소소진 데로진 랭 미개월은 죽당 중민도 그냥 소소소소로 삼로당네 빠져당 쇼고 유래 아니 저 현재는 양 유다 뒤솔을 뜬 적이 유래 농바당 뒤솔라 뜬베니 데벨로엠 제사 이면 팀담을 용어로 될 때네 갈발라서 중앙이나 데벨로 임차도 유래 어denso 아니 제도 지금도 간당대제 땅을 제바에는 유바다 현재 담점지로 주고 유래 어den에 쪽스 삼로당으로
Okay, then another, the person would be person who is protected by his own kind or race, probably. This means that the person is already married, or the person is already engaged to someone else. Or a person is already belonging to someone else, right? If that is the case, then we are committing these, sexual misconduct and non-virtuous deeds, and therefore now we have to think about or check for ourselves whether we have done such an action or no, right? Also, for this case, generally we can also think about the time and the places. This is because in certain places and time, the limit of the sexual misconduct differs depending on traditions and time. So therefore, we have to also consider about the time and the places, and as long as we haven't done such action regarding its traditions of the specific place and time, then it is good. But if we have done such an action regardless of the specific traditions and the time, then we have to think of ways to correct our behaviors, right? And this commit to ourselves not to not to do any action as this in the future. And now please contemplate on these points for a moment. Okay, we will stop here. Please follow me in chanting the rest of the text.
Lame Jangjo Ningboro Ngowara Sonam De Daye Jowa Chena Zangwe Barje Gunshi Rimni Lamje Jeba Darji Pema Jalbe Ngoba Nyurudo Jo Zaju Lam Chelam Nyela Jo Yedam Gando Ludan Jibji Chekyong Zome Barje Gonza Chodun Ngöndro Drube Daji Jo Oma Oma Zrangoro Bema Side O Biji De Lejim Eye Jene Wazanyo Me Kaye Dame Sonjo Wambe Jodarangonao Rajin Dro Beshin Jo Bemawe Chini Won Zum Jazer Dele Lo Nyanango Beshame Ganje Remba Zembe Bao Jange Sheze Lo De Doje Lo Garanjur Dewe De Menkombo Daye Nijindere Chana Bemoda Kozum Gode Chime Dodenza Kando Jo Bezenjo Jelazo Zendango Yenamro Dalembe Njudruja Chembe Duzade Dajen Kanyam Yejen Jazung Zede Bema Dando Jewarajo Deyare Zenamje Zenlamla Denengo Da Yejen Jazung Zede La Mengo Ba Nyurdo Raje De Nyelunje Jubarajo Nömeje dayerme bemanjo rananda sando bareje nare yerme manju nyume nene nam da jindo nje varajo gando nje be jewa damje do tore yende dunde do bara Yama Dado Jeda Jurune Soje Jube Rawa Yuba Chudo Nene Nyemba Dundrum de Sedre Sebe Jazo Gal Sebara Dame Cheram Dunjeje Shiben Jumla Jungal Mebra Labje Jinde Chore Meba Tamje Jamje Sanje Do Barajo 나서 nentsangma toshi chi shuwe nentsangma koso tojana ngaza champa jayong.
Thank you, everyone. Please take care. We will see each other next week.